probably have one or two more join us, but why don't we go around and introduce ourselves. I'm John Boutte. I chair the Southwest Common Council Education Committee, sit on the 19th Ward Schools Committee, and also on the Rochester Coalition for Public Education. Eleanor
Coleman. I'm with Rotary Southwest and Catholic Family Center Youth Build Program, construction program for 17 to 24-year-olds.
Joe?
Joe Balding. I'm the principal of School 29, and also I'm part of the Rotary Club Southwest in the 19th Ward for a lot of my career, so it's very nice to be part of this group. Thank you.
Good. Carla?
I'm a teacher at School 19, and I know John through his participation on our CET team.
April?
Hi, I'm Avril Little, and I live in the 19th Ward, and I'm in community mental health at the Villa of Hope.
Okay, Stella?
Hi everyone, I'm Stella Wang. I teach at U of R. I am with Rotary Club, Rochester Southwest as well. I am. My class is collaborating with School 19 this semester, focusing specifically on local busing, the local busing initiative. And child safety zone is part of that topic.
Alexis?
Hello everyone, my name is Alexis. I'm employed with Hillside's Children's Center. However, I'm just here as a student observing, as Avril mentioned earlier.
Good. Welcome. Monique?
Hi, I'm Monique Salas-Lee, proud principal, Dr. Charles C. Lunsford, school number 19.
Sandra?
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. No, I'm the director of special projects and education initiatives out of the mayor's office, and I'm sitting in for her this evening. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we're doing budget hearings also.
Thank you. And Josie?
Hi, I'm Josie McCleary. I am a new delegate in the 19th Ward Neighborhood Association, particularly District number 19. I'm here tonight on, I guess John is trying to pull me in and learn more about the committee and what we do here in the 19th Ward and surrounding areas. So thank you for having me. And I'm here to listen and learn.
Great. One of the things that we didn't have on the agenda, which came up yesterday, is I got a map from the potential child safety zones that they had come up with in the city based on the discussions we had back in January, I think it was, when we had a number of principals talking with the mayor, and Katerina Leone-Mannino mentioned that there was this safety zone option that might be usable, and that started a different tack at looking at what ways we might try to get local busing in the city. I was hoping that Katerina would join us today, but it doesn't look like it so far. Let's see. Do you see this map here? Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So this is the map that was done based on the guidelines that the state has in its legislation for child safety zones. I'm still, some of the holes in it are industrial areas, but there are also a lot of areas such as the some parts of the 19th Ward here, which is particularly one of the areas that I'm interested in. There are a lot of areas that are housing that aren't showing up as being areas that would qualify for busing under the child safety zone procedure. Now, from what I heard, and Sandra can perhaps fill us in if I'm forgetting, that the mayor will be trying to get together with the superintendent next week to go over this, and so there'll be a lot of discussion that needs to go on to figure out how this can be used to get busing throughout the city. Looks like it, as the understanding I have of it is that people from this zone here could get bused to a local school, but I'm not sure that would give people in an area that isn't in yellow the same option. But somehow, perhaps between the ones that would be covered by the safety zones and the city or school district coming up with the money for the other areas, they might come up with something that would encompass the whole city. We'll have to wait and see what they come up with next week. I'm very interested in seeing what the outcome is. I didn't want to just send this map out to everybody and his brother until the mayor and the superintendent get a chance to sit down and discuss this. But we've been more than slightly interested in seeing what comes out of all this for the past several weeks, past several months actually. So that's where they are right now with the child safety zone issue, and it'll be interesting to hear how they decide to proceed to use the safety zone legislation to their advantage. In neighboring school systems, of course, if we decided that, gee, this section here is really too dangerous for kids to walk, we could just say we'll start busing them at our expense and raise taxes accordingly if we felt sure enough that that's what we wanted to do. But in the city, they don't have that option of raising taxes to cover this, and they'd be hard pressed to raise them. But we'll see how this works out. Any questions that anybody has? No?
How are these zones determined? Is there some statistics that would feed into determining what would be considered unsafe?
Yeah, from what I recall, the mayor and Katerina saying when we first discussed this is that things like saying, oh gee, there's a lot of crime in this area, we don't want to have kids walking through there, that doesn't fly with the state, because they'll say, well, straighten out the crime, you know, that's your job to keep the streets safe. The things that do go into figuring this out are actual physical issues with, you know, how wide are the streets, how busy is the traffic, how many crosswalks aren't covered by an attendant or whatever. So my understanding is that they went through a very laborious process of checking all these factors out for every corner of the city, and this is what they've come up with so far. So I wish the mayor and the superintendent well in trying to come up with a way to utilize this, and that's about all I can say right now. Anybody else got any details? No? So I'll stop sharing here, and we'll try to get some information out as soon as we hear more information as to what the mayor and superintendent come up with.
John, can I interrupt you for a moment?
Certainly.
When the mayor came down and told me that I needed to represent her at this meeting, she said she responded to a question that you had asked. Unfortunately, I'm looking and I don't have her response, but she said that you asked her a question and she sent you information concerning that.
Yeah.
So are you not in receipt of that?
Yeah, no, I received that. Yeah, she had responded, please see our analysis. I have a meeting with the superintendent next week to discuss a joint letter pushing for citywide busing next year based on the child safety zone legislation. Please allow us time to develop the strategy around the advocacy now that we have the data. So that's what I've got right now, and you know, I can understand that it's going to take some examination of what that map gives us as in way of options to try to make use of that for getting citywide busing. I think we should probably the various committees that have been pushing for busing should probably be also talking to our representatives in Albany. We've had quite a change in the tone of what's possible in Albany this year. And perhaps the no, you can't do that attitude that they've had for the last 10, 15 years that I've been involved with this. Maybe that will change if they have enough progressive senators and assembly members that look at the fact that cities have a different set of problems than the suburbs have. In the cities, there's always a school in the city that's a mile and a half away. It just means you're going to be putting a lot more mileage on the buses if you let parents choose those, but they can't choose the school down the street. So anyways, that's all I have.
John,
Yeah.
could I ask, I just had a question. I was just wondering, I was curious, are there other groups? I was just wondering, is some of the other education groups in the city, are they working on this as well? Or do you know what groups are working on this issue?
Well, I know that the 19th Ward Schools Committee has been working with the Southwest Common Council Education Committee since we got started on this for the past 10 years. And we hooked up with the Rochester Coalition for Public Education because they were also interested in getting more local participation in the schools so that there could be more parent involvement in the schools, because the big drawback of having kids bust all over creation is that do the parents have a way of getting to that school they've picked for their child if it's on the other side of town? So we've been talking with them. The Citizens Action Group, AQE, Citizens Action, they've been pursuing that also, not as... They've had many things that they have been pushing for, and they came up with a lot of money for the district here, so they've done some great work this year.
We won't be too hard on them.
No, we won't. We won't. That's a
Great job.
Nice job, guys. So that's about what I can tell you right now. I know we met several times. Yeah, with I know I met several times with him. His name doesn't jump to mind right now, but our local assembly member, and you know they're always talking about the fact that they're not going to be able to pass it, but now I haven't talked to them since the change in Albany this fall. So we'll have to start talking with some of those members.
The next item is a quick review of school reopening. No
Yeah.
public guidelines.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you found that before I did. The latest I had heard from the schools was that they were going to be reopening fully in the fall, but there seems, this is a constantly changing process. I was hearing a few things on the news today that sounded like maybe the Biden administration was recommending earlier reopening of the schools, but what's the latest that you hear, Monique?
Oh, the latest is the district is providing 3 possible options for families. The first one is that if COVID restrictions are lifted, we will return to school as normal in the fall, which means 5 days a week for all students. If we still have some COVID restrictions in place, we are looking at a potential hybrid model, but this time it would mean one group of students from a class will attend on Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday will be asynchronous for all, and then the other half of the classroom would report on Thursday and Fridays. And then parents also have the option of remote learning exclusively, in which case they need to contact their school or their child's school and state that they choose this option for the first 20 weeks of school, and they need to do so by the 7th of May. And Joe, feel free to jump in.
That covers it well, Monique, and I think it's because of the default to in-person unless the parent calls. I think it's really good because you don't reach the parent. They're coming into school, which I think is the best for the children, and they have to self-select the remote learning. So far, I've received very few calls about that, and I'm really happy about that. So we want to get students back in school in person, as many of them as possible. Yes, Monique, 57 incorrectly. I just want to put that last little piece in.
No, thank you, and I agree. We only received a few calls as well in terms of requesting remote for the following school year. And the deadline is, a week and a half away.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what's the exact date of that deadline?
I'm sorry, please ask that again.
What was the exact date of that deadline
May
for May
7th.
7th? Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Got some good music there. Okay, what's next on the agenda, Eleanor? Because maybe this is fun.
Oh, okay. Political developments and funding breakthroughs.
Well, the big political development, of course, is in the funding is the fact that we've gotten money coming through from the federal government, and thanks to the mood of the Senate and Assembly in Albany these days, they managed to keep Governor Cuomo from getting his hands on it and maybe not passing it all through to us. I think it's all going to be coming through. And the other one is the funding that AQE was able to get that goes back to the 2008, 2009 or so, when they got a judge to say that the state needs to fund city schools equally as the as the schools in the suburbs are funded. And then along came the problem that we had in 2010, I believe, when Obama was coming in. There was a big hiccup in the economy because of all the housing speculation that had been going on, and they couldn't come up with the money then, and so they said, well, we'll put off paying what we owe you. And finally AQE succeeded at pushing it through, and I forget offhand how many millions that is for Rochester. I think it's about 180 million, I don't recall, but it's a significant amount. And the big question is going to be, now that we have decent funding for the coming year, can we shift gears and reorganize to properly restaff the school district? A lot of people have been dropped because of the fear that we were going to have to cut back how much money we could afford to spend on the schools, because there was that terrible shortfall that the school district had because of whatever was going on behind the scenes. And now it looks like we have money to cover the budget deficit that was there, and also to much more properly cover what needs to be done during the course of the year. Of course, that's, you know, my head swims every time I look at the city school district and all the people that are there, and my hat goes off to the superintendent, who has had to shift gears several times in the course of the last year as we went through the pandemic and all the budget shortfalls, and you know, the busing, which we've been pushing for years now. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they can restaff based on the money they now have. I don't know if anything has come through. Joe, have you heard anything on what they're going to do now that they are apparently flush with money?
Well, the $330 million of the CARES Act is not that money is just to make up learning loss. So that's not something that can be used to balance the budget. Now there can be, I feel there's been substantial savings with the way the school district's been configured, and that's helped, you know, to try to balance the budget for this year without so much, you know, stress and laying people off. However, our student population keeps decreasing, so at some point there is going to have to be an adjustment of the district's footprint to meet the lower student enrollment, which has to involve some level of school closing, reconfiguration, or something. You can't ignore that. It's gonna happen at some point. So that's my understanding of where we are right now. And again, the CARES money is only for learning loss. It's a substantial amount of money, and I'm not sure if Monique got it yet, but her network, but our network principals got a link today, so we can put in proposals for how we would spend or access some of that money to. I call it learning loss, but I think a better word would be accelerate, bring students back up to speed and accelerate their learning. So we were able to put those proposals in and access the money based on justification. We have to, of course, show what our plans are for it and how it's going to impact student learning. So that's sort of a snapshot of the budget piece that you asked.
Okay, great. Hey, lovely. Delighted to have you join us.
Hi, John. I'm sorry, I had a CIP meeting and it just concluded. I wanted to just drop in and just answer any questions that you might have regarding the information that I sent over regarding the study. I know that this is something that's been on your hearts and minds, and you're very eager to learn about. I can assure you that we're trying to move as expeditiously as possible. I'm not sure if you had time to go over that yet.
Yeah, we touched a bit on it, and I showed the map, but I'm not quite sure how we go from that map to managing to get universal busing next year.
So when we first spoke about this, one of the strategies that we wanted to show is that basically it is it's an equity issue. Currently, if you live in the suburbs and or are in a community that has 125,000 people or less, then you can get door-to-door busing because of the child safety zone. We wanted to plug in the city of Rochester into that child safety zone legislation based on that criteria and see if our schools would qualify for child safety if they were located in the suburban district. And what we found is that from those schools that they looked at, that they would qualify based on safe passage for a child. And so our goal, and apologize, the superintendent's calendar and my calendar just hadn't synced up, and finally we will be having a discussion on, I had a preliminary discussion with her, but we will be having a discussion on this. I believe our meeting is the first week of May, and our goal is to really send that information to our state legislators and make it an equity issue. It should not be the case that children that live in the city of Rochester have to pass over highways and all of that to get to school. But if they live a mile outside of the city, they would get door-to-door busing. And so our goal is to make this an equity issue, to take this to our state legislators who have been very responsive. Having new state senators as well as assembly people has benefited us, as we can see. I know that many of the families and also you all have advocated for foundational aid and adequate foundational aid in the budget that just passed the state that was fully funded. And so the district is going to get a significant amount of money. So I think that if we're going to raise this issue of equity and busing, this is the time to do it. And now we have the data to support our position.
Okay, would you be needing to get some of the state senators and assembly members to still vote for changing the 1.5 mile limit in order to do that for the whole city, or?
So I don't think that will be the approach for them to vote for changing the 1.5 mile limit. I think that they just need to expand the child safety zone, and that legislation in and of itself is where the problem, where I think that is our best attack. The fact that we can prove that based on the child safety zone legislation, and as I don't know if everybody, was on the call the last time, but we talked about how if you got a ticket in the city of Rochester, how 2 years ago you would have to pay your entire fine, your entire fee. But if you were in the town of Gates, you would go before a judge and that could be reduced. And so we made it an equity issue. I made it an equity issue, and therefore we got a traffic bureau, and now they have been able to have the same rights as our suburban counterparts where you get a traffic ticket. And so I'm going to use the same methodology here as it pertains to the child safety zone, and that will be the place of attack, not necessarily the 1.5 miles. It will do the same thing in my estimation, but that's where we're going to start.
Great. Okay, well, we'll be watching the progress with bated
We'll
breath.
definitely need feedback and need your help. So let me just tell you that we probably will need letters of support, and would invite you all to a meeting with our state legislators to really push this issue now that we have the data, to engage your parents and all of that, because it truly is an equity issue now, and it's a fairness issue as well. And so I just want to be very clear that our students should have access to the same thing as their suburban counterparts.
Great. Now we'd be...
Can I please ask a question? And I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I missed this. How long do you think this will take to go into effect before we can see some traction or movement on this? Are we talking the next school year, the following school year?
So we would be, if once I have this meeting with the superintendent, we would be trying to move this, ASAP. And I think that, as I said, we have state legislators that would take us up on this. So unfortunately, you may have your local state legislators that are, excited about this, but you need the entire state to sort of put this on and move it. So we are relying on other people from other districts as well. So I'm not sure what happens in Syracuse and Buffalo and other places. So that may become an issue. But I think that there's nothing wrong with us being first. And with the traffic bureau, Buffalo was first, and then we, went and advocated for what Buffalo had. So I'm assuming that will be the case, but our push would be to get this done by the end of this year, so that it will take effect for next school year.
Thank you.
Great.
Now, it may be a funding issue for the state budget. I'm not, but it's a reimbursable thing. So I don't know that portion of it principally. So I think that that's a little bit, I don't have that answer yet. I just want to make sure that we have the data to back up our position.
Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I'm Stella Wang. I teach at U of R, and I have a community engaged course collaborating with School 19 this semester, specifically on the local busing issue. I'm wondering if it would be possible to share the map that you share with John with my students, and tomorrow Principal Silas Lee and her community engaged coordinator Melody Bishop will visit my class, and then we will look at students' projects in progress. I'm wondering if we can show the students the map.
John, if you could forward the map, I don't have a problem with it being shared with the class. I can say that this has only been shared with you thus far and the superintendent, so it's not something that has been pushed out just because we want to put a letter to it and make sure that we have advocacy and everything lined up before we go to the state. So, but I don't have a problem with you utilizing it in your class.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
And can we share the information about your work on this
yes, I won't take credit for the work. We have a great city engineer, Eric Frisch, that did the analysis. I'm sorry that it took longer than we had anticipated to get this to you, as I know you've been waiting for a couple months. But this information that we needed was not something that was readily available. It was more complicated than I anticipated. So definitely you can share it and talk about it as an equity issue, because truly that's what it is.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions that you have for me?
Any other questions? No?
I have one. Is this the, in making your argument, you said that at some point you might need letters of support from the groups that are supporting this project. Would it be helpful if there were testimonials? I'm a teacher at School 19. I know there are certain interactions that we have with parents, and they're telling us some stories of how this issue is affecting them. So would testimonials of how this is impacting people and creating barriers to getting their children to school, or also even if just maybe data on some of the obstacles, like just examples of how it's inequitable?
That of course would be helpful, but I think that I'll be back to you, because what most likely we will do is the superintendent and I will write a letter, invite our state legislators to a meeting, and then we would invite you all to be there, where you can provide that information. They can hear directly from you. We can
kind of
frame
like
the
a public
issue,
testimony.
but there is nothing like hearing directly from those people that are affected, the teachers, the principals, the parents, and saying like, look, I don't understand why this is an issue when our suburban counterparts, based on the data that you use for them, it will be the same data for the city of Rochester, except for our population.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we'll be back in the loop. As soon as we have that meeting with the superintendent, I'll be back to you. It will definitely be in the early part of May. I'm sorry, my calendar isn't up, so I'm not sure of the date, but I know it's either the first 2 weeks of May, and then we'll be back to you for that advocacy portion of it. All right.
Great.
Everybody, please stay safe and take care. If you know anybody that needs the vaccine, all of our clinics in the city of Rochester are open now, so they're readily available now. If people want to take the vaccine, so please get the word out if they would like to. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think there's, on the question of vaccine, I think I was looking for it in my plethora of open windows here and can't find it, but there is now the ability to get young kids, babies, basically into I'm not sure if it's all just experimental, or I think basically if you have a 1 or 2 or 3 year old, you can get them into to get vaccinated now. I'll try to make sure you've got. I don't know if you've gotten the email, Eleanor, on that. I'll send it to you.
No.
If you haven't, then we can send it out put it out with the meeting notes.
Okay.
Very good.
So I know Dome Arena and St. Paul Street, the Hawkeye plant, you can just walk in and get a vaccine. You don't even have to have an appointment.
Lentori.
So the next thing on here would be primary elections, then CET meetings.
Yes, the primaries, I think the thing that we have to, the school board is and the city council are the two areas that we have to make some decisions on in the city this year. It's all a Democratic primary, but that's pretty much all there is. I don't know that anybody else from the Republican Party is running for any of those seats. But there's I believe...
The mayor is also on the ballot. She's up for re-election.
Yeah, that's right.
So she have to be in the primary.
And we have extra reason to make sure she makes it this time. She's doing a real nice job on the things that she's been doing for us. There's a meeting coming up, I believe it's May-June time frame, where they'll have the League of Women Voters is going to be holding a debate between the various members of the group that are running for office for the school board. I don't know, there may be something that will be done for folks who are running for city council, but
When is the school board one? Do you have a date for that?
I don't have a date yet, but I'll send it out as soon as I have. Do you have a date, Sandra?
Yeah, the primary is June 22nd.
Yeah. But sometime between now and then, they'll have this debate between people who are running for office. The Coalition for Public Education has been having interviews with some of the folks running for school board, and there's quite a few interesting ones. There's going to be, you need to pay close attention, and hopefully they'll have a good collection of them at this debate to evaluate. But there are several that I was impressed with, and so we'll send out that date when we get a hold of it. I don't know that it's been set yet.
CET meetings, and it's the next one, and then
Okay.
Rochester Coalition for Public Education.
Yes, we've been trying to keep in touch with all the schools, or at least most of the schools in the Southwest. School 19, School 3, School 10, School 16, and Wilson Foundation Academy are schools that have CET teams functioning right now, and I've been sitting in on most of those to get a feel for how things are going, and I have to say it's impressive seeing the work that a lot of you are doing, and Monique certainly is doing a great job at 19, and one of our goals in the Southwest Common Council Education Committee and the 19th Ward Schools Committee was to really try to make sure that when these schools reopen, because we pushed heavily for getting the schools renovated, but fancy buildings don't teach the kids. It's going to be the program that they have running in the schools that do it, and we wanted to aim towards a community school environment, and fortunately this time around they decided to have. Hey, Mary.
Hey, John, I'm sorry I'm late.
No problem. We're not completely done yet.
Okay.
So we just want to make sure that the best approaches to having a community school are being implemented at all the schools in question. We've also been working closely with Joe Baldino at School 29 because there's been a lot of interaction between the 19th Ward and the school there. They've had a number of projects that they've done together. So it's been fun and interesting to see all of these schools doing well.
Next is Southwest Common Council pushing for revitalization, because we already did Rochester Coalition for Public Education news.
Yeah, the thing that if any of you have parents in the Southwest Quadrant who are interested in getting involved in neighborhood associations, we're interested in trying to build up the neighborhood associations in the Southwest. We've got Neighborhoods United, which is just north of St. Mary's there, the Bull's Head area. We've got the Susan B. Anthony area. We've got the Kotz area, which is north of Samuel McCree Way, south of Main Street. And Cornhill has been involved with our group, as has Plex, and Swan, which is coming back now. They've got a new executive director, but we've been having problems really getting them involved in the Southwest Common Council, so we're hoping to find some people in the areas who are interested in continuing the involvement. The Southwest Common Council was started back 25 plus years ago by Willie Lightfoot Sr. as a way to get all the neighborhoods in the Southwest Quadrant working together, and I feel a certain devotion to trying to keep it going, because gee, they were the ones who pulled together an education committee when we really needed it back in 2012 to fight for School 16 and then School 10. So if you know anyone who'd be interested in getting involved with that, send them my way. I'd be interested. And yeah, we had the mayor here a little while ago, Mary.
Oh, good.
Yeah, sounds like we've got some interesting times ahead in getting local busing through.
All right.
What else we got on the agenda?
Walk-in items.
Walk-in
We are
items.
at the end. Walk-in items.
Who's got a walk-in item?
Well, I can report that Youth Build is recruiting for their next class. It's going to be May 24th, probably May 24th that it starts. So it's youth 17 to 24 years old. They do not have to have a high school diploma, who want to learn construction skills.
Great.
And I will put Reg Walton's contact information in the minutes. If anyone wants to get a hold of his phone number is 766-7344.
Do you think the media could publicize these? Just
Actually,
have a book.
It's going to be going on to DKX. We get a lot of recruits when we go to DKX.
That's good. All right.
Very good.
We do have a walk-in item, just so you know. We are having a community Zumba event going on in School 19's parking lot outside. So we are inviting the community to stay healthy, get fit on May 22nd. There will be prizes, a bag lunch, and lots of fun and Zumba and line dancing. And Melody Bishop will forward the official flyer to the team as well.
Great.
Are you going to send information out about that, Monique, or what?
Yes, we can definitely send information. Melody will send it to this team if you want it directly. Ms. Sandra, just let me know and we can send it to you directly.
Please do. I'm a big kid now.
Okay. We'll forward it to you. Thank you.
I would like to say Tony Nelson, that was on last one of the meetings, is part of Rise Up Rochester, and they were supposed to do something on North Clinton last Saturday, but it somehow didn't materialize. However, they were on television tonight. This Rise Up Rochester, it sounds like a great group of ladies. I'm sure there's men in it, but that's who was speaking. And they're against the violence. They want it to stop. And I think we should maybe very much consider joining them. And if we're all standing up against violence, and maybe we can help turn the city around.
Yeah, that's a real big problem for us right now.
Yeah. But they seem to be very sincere.
Yeah. Any other points that want to be brought up here? See, Stella, you and I were going to touch base after this meeting. You had some things talk about, or are you all set right now?
I'm all set right now.
Okay.
I have sent you a invite to yeah
Yeah.
to the class.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and if you can share the map, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll send that out right after this meeting. Okay. Well, this has been a very interesting meeting. Delighted to have Sandra Simon and the lovely Warren join us and talk about the busing, and we look forward to seeing things going forward with that. So unless there's anything else, we'll call it a wrap. All set?
Righty.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh,